I want to welcome you back to Thrive in the Word. We're studying the book of James. And the book of James is an amazing book. It's written with the purpose of causing you to grow in your faith. Wow. What a valuable thing. What a valuable tool that we've been given here in the Word of God that will help you to grow in your faith. Now, we're going to take a look today and start out with James, the first chapter, and this is verse number 2. Now, James is writing to the 12 tribes of Israel. He's writing to Jewish people, and that doesn't rule us out because James is sharing things that will help even the Gentiles to grow in faith. It was the Jewish people that James was in relationship to, and so it was the Jewish people that he's writing to. So, James, the second verse, chapter 1, the second verse, and this is a verse that so many people misunderstand. But it says this, it says, "Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials." Now, what's James talking about? What's he saying? He's saying you need to have a mindset. You need to consider. You need to think about it. And you need to think about it when you're going through trials. Now, again, let me tell you that James is writing to a group of people that are going through tremendous trials. They're going through very rough times. And he's writing to them. And he's writing to them to encourage them in the faith. Now, James himself is probably still living in the city of Jerusalem. The city of Jerusalem is still very intact. The city of Jerusalem, in the city of Jerusalem, the Jewish people are the major persecutors of the church. But how many of you realize that in the city of Jerusalem and in that area of Judea, that the Jewish people controlled most everything that went on? The Roman government was there, yes, but the Roman government actually would just allow the Jewish people to do certain things, at least up at this point in time. So we see James and he says, consider, think about it, change your thinking, reason in this way. He says, consider, and then he says, consider it all joy. All joy. Now, we're going to talk about later about what he's really talking about. But here we see this word joy. And many times people have a misunderstanding of what real biblical joy is. You see, there are several different Greek words that we translate into English as the word joy. And this word that James is talking about, this word does not mean to leap around and jump and shout and act that way. This word that James is talking about is he's talking about a word that we could translate into English as contentment. Consider it all joy. How many of you know that there's great joy in contentment? You know, how many of you have ever been around friends and you're fellowshipping around the Lord and you're just kind of relaxing and kicking back and you're just content. You're feeling that joy of just being content, that everything is all right, everything is okay with the world. You know, I remember my wife and I, we were in the Soviet Union. We lived in the Soviet Union for almost a year. And I remember one time we went to Moscow. And in Moscow, there was the only Pizza Hut in the whole nation. And I remember going into Pizza Hut there in Moscow. and going into the back room and just saying, you know what? I want to just pretend that I am not in the Soviet Union for the next half hour or so. Just bring me a pizza, bring me a Coca-Cola, and I just want to pretend. Well, you know what? That was a time where we were with our children, and I was just saying, you know what? I just want to have joy. I want to have contentment. So James is writing and he's saying, consider it all joy. Brethren, he's talking to brothers in the faith. But then he says this, when you encounter various trials, and many times our mind goes, boing, what are you talking about, James? I'm supposed to consider it joy? Now, there's been some people that say, oh, you just need to jump around and shout and dance and whenever you're going through trials. That's not the type of joy that James is talking about. The joy that James is talking about is that inward contentment, that inward knowledge that says everything is going to be all right. But then he says, consider it all joy when you're going through various trials. Now, this word trials can mean temptation. It can mean hard times. It can mean the temptation to give up on your faith. You see, he's writing to Jewish people. And some of these Jewish people have just turned on their faith and gone back to Judaism. You see, James is writing, and he's writing to believers, and he's saying, guys, this is something you need to think about. This is something that you need to get in your attitude, that you need to consider, you need to think about it as a place of contentment, a place of joy when you fall into various trials. Now, in our next video, we're going to tell you why he said that. So, I want you to understand. I want you to know that James, I keep wanting to say John today, but that James is saying, guys, we need to have an attitude. We need to have an attitude that says, I am content, even when I'm going through rough times. You see, we don't receive our contentment because we have everything materially. We receive this joy from the Spirit of God. Now we're going to continue on in our study of the book of James in our next video. So I want to encourage you to join us again tomorrow as we continue to look at this amazing book of the Word of God.